Good afternoon and welcome here to the Burnside Bowling Club in Christchurch. We're at the final stage now of the Burnside Invitation Pairs, the Stu Butter Memorial Pairs. The final will be between the combination of Tony Grantham and Mike Curnahan and Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny. And my apologies for early on. Rodney Greeny, in fact, plays out of the Ellington Club. My apologies to those who I'd said Horswell. Paul Matheson is from Horswell, Rodney Greeny from Ellington. So this 15 end final is just having the first end now. I just saw Paul Matheson just move the jack. Perfect conditions, a wee bit of breeze, sun shining, and we're bringing you this coverage. Thank you to Tamara and Melissa, who are the people who are putting all the camera work together, bringing all this live action for this final this afternoon. And we're certainly have had the continuation of this wonderful weather which we had in Christchurch as well, right throughout the Somerset National Pairs and Fours, and it has continued throughout these Burnside Pairs. And just so as you know, in Division 2 final is underway, and in the Division 2 final we will have the side of Kevin Gore and Andy McLean up against one another. Kevin Gore beat Steve Glassy in his semi-final, and Andy McLean beat Sean Scott. In the Division 3 final, we've got Hamish Wilson up against Adrian Robbins in that semi-final. And in the semi-finals this morning, we saw Mike Curnahan defeat Craig Carter by 18 shots to 16, and Paul Matheson defeat Matt Small by 14 shots to 12. Now into this final, playing the first end. Here's Curnahan on the charge to the head and trying to dislodge that Paul Matheson bowl, which is locked in on the jack. Here is Rodney Greeny now. The Ellington Club on his backhand. 15 ends in this final, no time limit. The other finals, Division 2, Division 3, they in fact are 13 ends. So I'm sure we'll see Curnahan again. He will attack the head down through that port, trying to get to the bowl of Paul Matheson. It's on its way. Is the Curnahan bowl trying to get to the shot bowl, goes past on the wide side. And
a lot of down trail, I suppose.
Good on you. Good on you.
And
the way Tony played that in, we'll be lucky to score.
Now, and players, of course, it's a 3, that opening end. Big start for the composite combination, Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny. Of course, remembering this combination as well, in last week, Somerset National Pairs won their way through to the last 8. So they're an in-form combination. And at the completion of this event, Paul Matheson, along with a number of other players, jumping on in New Zealand, making their way to New Plymouth, where they'll be starting tomorrow morning in the Taranaki Open Fours to be played, 158 teams around the greens of Taranaki, and we'll be bringing you that live final and semi-final next weekend as we watch this first bowl of Matheson's. He was pretty consistent this morning in the semi-final, well, in the round 3 game that we covered against Kelvin Scott and Glasson. He was pretty consistent in that game. Tony Grantham short, and the Nathan Glasson, Kelvin Scott game, that could have gone anyway, but any good draw play by both Matheson and Greeny, as we see, don't try and run too fast. Paul Zoomy, as he's known around the greens of Christchurch, coming in behind the head, coming back towards the centre line. Be a metre and a bit over, and this is second end. Grantham quickly into his work on the backhand, short with his first. And of course, a big thank you to John Phillips from Harcourt's Grenadier, a great sponsor of this event, great sponsor here at Burnside. And thanks to his continued support of this event. You can see good smattering of players there. See Matt Small and Dad having a beer there just after the very tight encounter they had against Matheson and Greeny in that semi-final. Here's Rod Greeny now on the backhand. Just looks a bit of breeze out there. That bowl just seemed to be hanging a wee bit wider there on that backhand side. Lacked a yard of weight, but also I just noticed halfway down the green just seemed to struggle a wee bit or move around a wee bit with a wee bit of wind. Curnahan now with that magnificent delivery that he has, but again under the line, but he'll quickly adjust. You'll see where that line is. Paul Matheson found the line fairly quickly. Here now Rod Greeny on his backhand, just trying to adjust that line from his first, and has done so. Coming back towards the centre line now and getting applause from Paul Matheson. Will get down towards the jack, sits just low of the jack. Curnahan straight into his work on the backhand, will endeavour to sit down to get a touch on the bowl, sit inside it, or at least get second shot on its way. Certainly you can see the breeze on the players' shirts there just blowing across the green slightly, and that bowler Mike Curnahan just stayed out fractionally on that wider side. Possibly, look at the Harcourt sign just down below us here, and blowing around fractionally. Looking at the shot bowl, the shot bowl of Rod Greeny's is about 11 inches lower the jack, and the second shot is about 15 inches lower of the jack on the other hand, and the third shot sits directly on the centre line, about a metre and a bit on the centre line. So here's down Paul Matheson. We saw a change in heads in that semi-final this morning. We saw big numbers being picked up. So Matheson now getting a movement onto the bowls, tightening that line up fractionally.
Run right through that, mate.
And there's the call from Mike Curnahan to Tony Grantham to run right through it with weight, reaching weight on the forehand down through those two front bowls. Would get to the jack. Here's Grantham on the mat, playing it on the backhand. In fact, there's a different line on the backhand to get to that result. And yeah, because it gets that swing at the finish. I thought he might have played quicker down on that forehand under the
And
front,
again, mate,
under that front bowl down through the line. So here's Paul Matheson again on his forehand. He's tightened the line this time, and he'll go across the head.
Want to be quicker than that, mate?
Yeah, it's correct.
Great way.
Mike Curnahan agreeing with what my sentiments were, that if you're going to play that line, you need to be a lot quicker down through the bowls. On its way, going to get the outside, got one of them. The problem for Curnahan though is at this point he's literally got no bowls on the head. 4 bowls that are around the head are in fact the 4 bowls of Paul Matheson's, one jack low, one jack level, another one jack high at 4 o'clock and one quite some distance away. And Tony Grantham's got 2 very, very short bowls, and of course one of Mike Curnahan. So Curnahan, losing a 3 on the very first end, will be endeavouring to, if not get the shot, at least second shot. So here is Rod Greeny from the Ellington Club. And this is on a counting line, and we'll finish jack level. Mike Curnahan, he'll be wanting to, if he doesn't get the shot, he'll certainly want second shot. Will Curnahan on its way. I just wonder how far that line's going to hold. It's not going to hold. And boy, a big last bowl to come up here for Mike Curnahan. Might in fact be 4th shot. So here's Rod Greeny really trying to put the pressure on Curnahan and Grantham. Got the bowl out on a good drawing arc out on that wider side. It'll come back towards the centre line. Paul Matheson's taking an interest in this, and it'll go by. He won't mind that. Sits in behind the head. There's a big bowl here from Curnahan. I reckon he's 4 down. So he'll certainly want to get a wider arc on the bolt with this. It's on its way. He's certainly got it out on that wider line, but is it wide enough as it comes down towards the head now? Still looks to be under. He's going to get the jack though. Got a slide off the bowl and got the jack and got shot of it.
Oh yeah, Mike.
Yeah. Big sigh of relief there from Mike Curnahan, which you might have actually heard through the microphone, because he was a bowl away, really. He was a bowl.
Right back, mate. Right up.
He was literally a bowl under the line. But those things, of course, can happen. And got down to the shot. He was definitely down a number. He would have reduced the count anyway, but yeah, it's certainly.
Well done.
So the jack will be on the 2 metre mark. So the mat's right back as well on the 2 metre mark. Tony Grantham, yeah, on the forehand. Just see at this point how far it'll come back. No, it's gone under the line. You can easily see on our monitor.
2 feet of speed.
And needed 2 feet at speed and a wee bit more. Green as well. Matheson on his backhand. He's got the bowl out on a good arc. Now start to work its way back. Will it come all the way back? It is. It's coming all the way back now. We'll just finish lower the jack, but we're certainly hunting towards that centre line. A good opening bowl from the Horswell player. Grantham, he's got out on that wider line, which gives his bowl a chance. But more than not, he got too much weight on. It has, as it goes by, and will go well by. So the left-handed Paul Matheson got that good arc again on the bowl. Don't know if it'll come all the way back this time. Just seems to be just a wee bit of a track there that holds them fractionally, but it comes back at the latter stages towards the centre line.
Try the other hand.
And you just heard Mike Curnahan say to Tony Grantham, try the other hand. So you can see, possibly after a couple of ends, acknowledge that trying to get some consistency. So here is Mike Curnahan on his backhand. Will play down under the Tony Grantham bowl to endeavour to get to the shot line. On its way. Looks pretty good. Just goes past that bowl now. Getting down towards the jack. Played perfectly by Curnahan and just sits by the jack. So that bowl of Rod Greeny, you'll see that quickly duck away. Just got to get that line so right. Curnahan now in the backhand on this, the third end, with Matheson and Greeny leading 3-1 of this 15-end final. The Division 2 final also out here in front of us. And that Division 2 final is Kevin Gore of Burnside up against Andy McLean of Northeast Valley. And in the Division 3, it's Hamish Wilson, also of the Burnside Club, up against Adrian Robbins of the Waimeti Club. And again, you see the bowl of Rod Greeny's just disappear under the line, trying to force the bolt under that low bowl of Tony Grantham's. And you can see clearly there are certainly green patches out on this green. There's no question about that, which may just create some pace variation. But you take your green, you will be rewarded. So here is now Tony Grantham on his backhand. You'll very quickly see the line. Now this is, it's going to hold that line, might go now. It's going to hold the line to under the jack at will and goes through where the Port Matheson bowl.
No change, mate.
And perfect weight, jack level. You see it's Paul Matheson now. He's certainly got the bolt out on that wider line, and the left-hander should get that natural nice draw at the finish, but it's in fact
I'm done.
Run into the bowl of the Grantham combination. So here now is Tony Grantham. He certainly will still want to get wider than where his first bowl was, and he's done that, just that. He's out on that wider side. Should start to come back now. It all depends on the weight. He's got the line. There's the line under that bowl. That's going to be short, though. Was certainly the line to play.
Down there. Turn your own bowl over. Gap there.
So you might have heard Rodney Greeny then just saying to Paul Matheson, play down here, turn your own bowl over, the blue bowl down in the front of the head. Question that line, though. How long is it going to hang on that line moving now under the centre line? And won't hold up. Didn't have the weight either as well. Missed on a yard of weight and also missed on the line as well. And our pleasure to bring you this live coverage from Burnside, which if you go to the Burnside website, Burnside Bowling Club website, will take you straight to the link to where this final has been live streamed. And Paul Matheson learnt very little. So Mike Curnahan on the mat, the high performance New Zealand coach, former New Zealand player, winner of the course number 2 in the New Zealand side here at Burnside, won the World Championship fours here in 2016, and will be very much part of the Blackjack's up and coming performance for the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham in August 2022. Here's Rod Greeny now, trying to play to the Paul Matheson bowl. This looks on a pretty good line. We're just going to go by. Might exit to this bowl at the back. And sits the bowl out. May well have made 2 of it. 2 down is the call from Tony Grantham. So Curnahan electing to stay on that backhand. He's certainly on a tighter line than his second bowl. Needs to be under this clean and not run too far away or sit on the bowl. He's close to doing so and does so. Well played by Mike Curnahan. Perfectly judged. And you heard there from Paul Matheson to have a go at the bowl. So he'll play with weight up to that Mike Curnahan bowl. Just got that right. Sat on top of the shot bowl. Always on a good line. So here is Rod Greeny now trying to get to that shot bowl. Paul Matheson's pretty keen on this and goes by on the wide side. Out comes the measure.
Looks like 2 from there.
too as well. Hung now. I thought it was going to turn. Hung.
I was hoping you're going to get both yours.
Oh, thanks.
Within 6 to us then.
So round now to the Rod Greeny bowl in the middle of those three. That certainly appears to be in. And it was, as Paul Matheson had said, it was 2. 5-1 now to Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny after 3 of the 15 ends. That's over Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham.
Oh, here we go. I've had that last game as
I'm
well.
just a poor bugger from
I've
Ashburton.
had that last game as well.
Did it work? No.
Well,
Nearly.
So you'd have heard Mike Curnahan in that microphone then having one of his tactical conversations with the opposition. So the jack's been that certainly shortened up has been the jack, and that's reflective now. And it's surprising that length change, because Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny have been playing deeper down the ring, and it certainly changes your line. There's a lot shorter. So Grantham now on his forehand. 3 ends gone, 5-1 to Matheson and Greeny, and this looks on a good line from Tony Grantham as it comes towards the jack in the centre line now. He needs to take the jack with him, does it, moves it off the centre line, but goes by about a metre. So plenty of room for Paul Matheson is to adjust that line. And looks as though he's done so. That's breaking towards the jack and centre line now. Or just go by the jack by half a metre. Right down in front of us here. So Grantham trying to play under the short bowl to get to the jack. And will do so. Is it going to get to the jack? Clean. Just goes by. Good effort though.
Very good, mate.
Just a metre over. So 15 ends, no time limit here for Burnside. Pears, Harcourt's Grenadier, Stu Butter Pears here at Burnside. So Rodney Greeny from the Ellington Club on his backhand, trying to reach to the Tony Grantham bowl. He sits inside that, he'll be quite happy. Coming back towards that point now, sits on the bowl, turns it over. He'll be happy with that. Mike Curnahan now playing his first bowl on this, the 4th end. On his backhand. This looks on a good line. This bowl of Curnahan's, that beautiful arc towards the jack. Will sit jack level. Well played. The former New Zealand player. I'm sure we'll see Rodney Greeny will follow that bowl of Curnahan's up on his backhand. Looks to be on a wider line than what the Curnahan bowl was. And that's the way it will eventuate. Goes by. So Mike Curnahan again trying to get that second bowl, make that a counting effective bowl as well. It's on a similar line to what his first was. But just going to fall short. Thank you very, very much for that lovely comment Kirsten wrote. Loving the coverage, Kevin. Watching in the sun on the edge of Lake Wakatipu at the Hilton. So I hope you and Kevin, I know you'd like to be here, Kevin. Can't be, but I'm sure you will be enjoying yourself on the edge of Lake Wakatipu at the Hilton. And I was talking earlier on this morning to Emily, who, of course, has been playing in this event. So glad you're enjoying it. We certainly enjoy bringing this live coverage of the live streaming of the various bowls events around New Zealand. It's great to be able to do so, and it's my pleasure to be part of the team alongside
I don't mind, mate.
Melissa
Stay
and
on your hand. Yeah, stay on
Tamara
you.
to be able to bring the live coverage of the various events around New Zealand. We're a very happy team. Little team of 3, and we're a very happy team. So Tony Grantham trying to reach to that bowl at Curnahan. No, again, it's going to be short. And one of the
Don't
frustrations.
really like it there now, really. Look, I reckon on the draw, forget about that ball there on the draw, just rest Mike's out, come around it.
Yeah, one of the frustrations for the skips in these particular games is when you're getting bowls finishing lower the jack, but they are actually then finishing directly like in the draw line. So Matheson endeavouring to get inside the bowl, turns the bowl over, and you can see there's 1, 2, 3,
Come right
4
around the
bowls
back,
that
mate.
I would count that I would say are really on the line to the draw on either hand, and this is where players tend to cut their line to steer the bowl under the head, and one can get into a bit of trouble.
Well done.
So
Very good.
I'm picking that we'll see Rodney Greeny come down, try and play under those front bowls and get a touch on the jack. He's got 2 bowls sitting in the catching pen just in behind the head there. Bill Fowley sitting there watching. Bill Fowley, one of the legends of bowls administration in New Zealand. I've had the pleasure of working alongside with Bill, the World Bowls 2008 and 2016, the Asia Pacific Championships as well, and of course the wonderful job that he did in Delhi at the 2010 Commonwealth Games. Can never be underestimated, the contribution that Bill Fowley has made to our sport. So here's Rod Greeny. He's on the jack search. Needs to come into the line now. Breaking in towards the jack. He's close to this. Needs a touch on the jack. Julie got it locked into one of the Curnahan bowls. And the jack came out to the side. You'll see it there sitting on the centre line. And it will be the Curnahan combination holding one shot. Mike Curnahan, he can draw around that front bowl. He's got a good metre to draw around that front bowl, which he's more than capable of doing so.
Quick in that.
Questioning his line, he might be a bit quick. We'll see. There's a green patch down here. We'll see what difference it makes. He's not too quick at all, actually. And that's the shot bowl that just went in, and that highlights halfway down the green. Mike thought that it was too heavy, but you play through that green patch, and it brings, just makes a yard of difference. So here's Rodney Greeny, needs to get past his front timber. Oh, he got a feather off a front bowl, wasn't going to make any difference. And I think it's the Curnahan combination holding 2. Mike Curnahan will just follow that same line as his first on this, the 4th end. He's got 2 was the call from Grantham, and he's on that side where he's not going to get into any trouble. He just needs to see how far he'll come back to the centre line. He's got a metre to come back to that centre line, and in fact turned in the Greeny bowl, turned in the Rodney Greeny bowl, was underlined and made shot of it. That was, I would say, Mike Curnahan be very upset with that. Holding 2 shots, trying to add a 3rd, and rolled the opponent's bowl in for shot. Great to see Kevin Smith here, of course, sitting here. Does such a great job with the visually impaired and blind bowlers. And of course was here throughout the Nationals, where we hosted, of course, and covered the visually impaired and blind bowls, as well as the para bowls. We have a full menu of 5 or 6 days of coverage. So the Division 2 final is also going on as we speak, and that sees Kevin Gore of the
That's a
local
metre
club
short, mate.
up
Metre and a half,
against Andy McLean. And in the Division 3 final, it's Hamish Wilson up against Adrian Robbins in Division 3 final. So Tony Grantham was told by Curnahan
Well played, Tony. Brilliant.
that was a metre short, and came round the bowl, well played, and draws right down towards the
Outstanding,
jack.
mate.
Front toucher. That's certainly always a good bowl to have on your head, on the head. Your opening bowl. Matheson quickly into his work on the backhand. And he's not going to be short, that's for sure. And he won't mind if he's over the head. A lot of bowls to come. You get the bowl over the head, at least if you attack the head, you've got a chance with bowls in behind. Tony Grantham again on his backhand, endeavouring to come past the front bowl of Paul Matheson's, which he's just about to do. Just running past jack level now, coming back to the centre line. Down towards the number. Well, more than likely stay up, it does. See it there sitting right underneath the number 6-1. Mike Curnahan trailing. Mike Curnahan, Tony Grantham trailing Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny. Greeny from the Allington Club, and Paul Matheson from Horswell. So here it's Rodney Greeny looks to be under the line, out of the hand. It looked under the line, needs to get some contact. Going to disappear now though. You'll see it, it's 3 bowls under that line. Curnahan, one of the great exponents of the draw and holding the line.
Do you want me to play it, Tony's?
Give me a second.
So here's Curnahan now endeavouring to add to the count. And going to go by jack level. And of course you can go to the Bowls New Zealand website and click on the link. So on the wider side this time is the drawer, and this will count. This bowl of Mike Curnahan's finishes lower the jack. Marker indicating who's holding shot. We can see from here Paul Matheson now on his backhand. Leading 6-1. Here's Matheson now on the backhand trying to get second shot. That's really what Rod Greeny will want. Bowl breaking towards the head now. Needs to get in front of this bowler. Mike Kernan's not going to do so. Falls lower the jack. It's half a metre lower the jack. So granted.
Okay there, but if you get to here, it's okay.
So Mike Curnahan encouraging Tony Grantham on the backhand is Grantham trying to get past the head and play to Mike Curnahan's feet, and he gets past that line. He'll also count. Looks on a good line. How's the weight as it comes down past those two bowls. It's got that's right in behind, literally on that centre line.
There, Cat.
So it's imperative here for Paul Matheson that he gets a bowl. His second shot. It's on a wider line.
Yeah, pal.
Certainly on a wider line. What's it going to run into? Needs to run into something to get a bit of luck, and got the touch side of the bowl. Made second shot of it. Wasn't looking too good there for a while. Looked as though it was going to sail through the port. Got a slide and sat on the back bowl, thus giving them second shot. So Grantham with this bowl seems to be fractionally tighter. Doesn't want to touch the back of the bowl here. Well, it counts. Of course, it allows an attack there, as Rod Greeny quickly indicates. Play with weight to reach those two bowls. Still really only a one bowl target. Didn't really fatten the target up considerably. So here's Rodney Greeny now, no doubt. Play with weight. He is on this full out on the backhand. He's right at it. He's close to getting that contact. Goes by, goes through the port. Nearly got the ideal result. Curnahan onto the forehand. Holding two. Trying to add to the count. This has got the weight, which it looks at, well, that's close to being another shot, and it'll sit on in that area there, right in behind the jack. Just wonder what shot to play now. Again, looks to be on the charge. On the charge is Rod Greeny, trying to get something to the target area, gets nothing. And I'll have a look at that count in a moment. With a bowl to come, it looks like 3 at this stage to the Curnahan Grantham combination, set up by some very good bowls off the front. Drew close in behind the jack. Wider with this bowl is Curnahan. 3 it is. Heard it then. 3 it is. 5 ends gone of 15. 6-4. Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny over Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham. You'll see that marker, the lollipop lady going up the green with the 3 red lollipops up. And those other Division 2 final between Kevin Gore and Andy McLean, and Hamish Wilson, Adrian Robbins playing the Division 3 playoff in their final. Earlier in the semi-finals today, we saw Paul Matheson and Paul Matheson and Rod Greeny defeat Matt and Mike Small by 14 shots to 12, and Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham defeat Craig Walker and Jeff Knoll by 18 shots to 16, and that really came down to a one-end result, a 6 that the Curnahan combination scored on about the 12th end. So, see now, Matheson elected to change his hand. See the first bowl to Tony Grantham's at 5 o'clock. Half a metre higher the jack. Wind quite blustery out there now. See the flags just blowing around. Good line here from Grantham. Mike Curnahan likes this bowl as it comes down towards the jack.
Brilliant. Well done, mate.
And sits just lower the jack. You'll see the indication there from Rod Greeny. Got about 9 inches there. Draw past the bowl to Paul Matheson and you'll have shot. So here's Matheson again.
The area.
He's in the area, right? You'd have heard Ron Greeny say that, and this is in the area. We're just going to drop by, falls in And great attempt from, I'm just looking through the down below here at the front bowl of Tony Grantham's. Appears to be the shot.
Yeah, lovely. You might like it.
So here we got Mike Curnahan. My apologies, I've got that scoreboard wrong. It's 5-4, not 6-4. I'm just looking at the master board out on the green, and it is 5-4 to Paul Matheson and Mike Curnahan on this, this the 16th. So Rod Greeny trying to draw inside the Paul Matheson bowl. Just going to dip under the line.
Couple of feet to the bowl.
More than likely needed 2 feet more of weight. Here's Curnahan again playing his second bowl on this the 16, and coming back now, but won't come back inside the Matheson bowl, but does come to the centre line, half a metre higher the jack. So Rod Greeny now again, this looks tight on the line, and it is. Just the one shot though.
Give it a chance.
One blue, Shirley. One blue, Shirley.
And Mike Curnahan actually telling the marker that it is the Matheson combination. The shot. So Tony Grantham playing down to that shot bowl. We'll turn over the second shot over.
Brilliant.
And done so.
Well played, mate.
Well played there by so here is the again under the line there from Matheson. Hasn't got the weight either.
Back to the draw.
Mike Curnahan just saying to Tony Grantham, back to the draw. In other words, you got a good result there before, but you might have been a bit heavy, but doesn't matter. Got the right result. So Grantham's certainly given this bowl a lot more green. And that's going to
I
finish.
think you're going to play as though he's not there. Just around him.
So indicating to Paul Matheson is Rod Greeny, you've got to come past that bowl, that front bowl. If you can come past it, you'll draw down towards the jack. Not going to do so, no. And if you have a look here, you'll see all the bowls finishing on one side of the head, which means that they've been steered under the line instead of around to get the arc into the jack. So here is Mike Curnahan. He's on that line to get under to the shot area. Needs to sit on something. And just slips by. So Rod Greeny having it.
Playing through the set.
So the shot there that was being called by Paul Matheson to Rod Greeny. I think he's going to have to play the fair bit of weight to play under that line, the Ellington player. See what he elects to play. Trying to get a slide off the inside. Going to go by though on the wide side, I think. It is. It's a bowl wide on that target area. The thing that Matheson and Greeny need to be very careful of, they've spent the last couple of ends sort of running at bowls and playing under the head to try and reach bowls, etc. Just got to be a bit careful that you start playing that sort of game, you lose your natural draw.
You don't like it the other hand. Same weight the other hand. So, you don't like the same speed? If I timber air, something's happened? Not really.
Of course, the danger is you play that, you get onto the back of the bowl, you could actually shunt your own bowl out of the head. I think he's got to go relatively quick at this. 5-4's the score. Mike Curnahan holding the shot. 5-4. Rod Greeny on the mat, playing on the backhand with weight, trying to play down underneath to get some contact. That's going to be outside the target area. Never lined, never straightened up at all. Stayed out on that line all the time. And there it is, 3. Yeah, I just put the word of caution out there. That's 2 3s in a row. 7-5 now. Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham leading. And really the danger is that you start pushing and prodding around the head. You can get yourself into all sorts of trouble.
Maybe 3 feet, mate, maybe 4 feet.
And the last 2 ends, that's exactly what they've done. So it's really about getting back to the drawing game, and the only way you can do that is by you getting the bowls on the head. So Tony Grantham playing his first bowl in this final of the Burnside pairs. This is at the 7th end of 15. This is going to be under the line and will be short. Bit of green here from Matheson. Gets to the jack, gets a touch on the jack. Tony Grantham now. 1 down. It's on a good line. It has the weight coming in towards that jack area now. He'll sit on the shot bowl, will he?
Good correction, Tony. Well
yes,
done,
he
mate.
does. That's the shot. And at this early stage, it's Grantham who's really got some consistency in his game. He was struggling earlier on, but the last couple of ends, we've seen some consistency in the Grantham game. And now needs to swallow the jack, this Paul Matheson, and he does. Takes the jack around the corner, moves it over a metre, moves it right off the centre line. So you see the crowd sitting there in the sunshine, enjoying the afternoon's play with the sun streaming down here. course, Burnside headquarters for the World Championships, both 2008, 2016. So certainly a number of major events played at Burnside, and of course last week headquarters for the Somerset National Championships. As we watch this bowl of Mike Curnahan's trying to break in towards the head, jack level finish. Great attempt from Curnahan. And thank you to our marker, Shirley Clark, who's the lollipop lady out there, indicating who's got shot. This bowler, Rod Greeny's always looked narrow, needs to sit on something. That's going to go fat onto the front bowls, turns over Paul Matheson's bowl, but was well under the line to draw to the head. Curnahan just trying to beat his last bowl, which finishes jack level. Leading now is Mike Curnahan 7-5. 7-5. Mike Curnahan leading after 6 of the 15 ends. And he's got that good line again. How's the weight as it comes towards the head now? Needs to get past the front, not going to do so. So Rod Greeny wants to make sure he's out wider than those front bowls to have a chance to draw back to the head. It's on its way. As they'll change over, he's got a wider line with this bolt. Has Greeny. Looks to have a bit of weight on as it goes by, and will do so. And of course, Curnahan, I can hear him talking to Rodney Greeny, which he's so good at doing, about what the line's doing, what it's doing, and where the bowls are going. May I say, Mike Curnahan's one of the best going round at gamesmanship and tactics, and perhaps just casting doubts on the opponents from time to time. Here's Grantham now on the forehand. He's on a good line, the same as what the Curnahan bowl was. He's going to come back far enough, working back now towards the jack, going to sit on the bowl and turn it into a shot. No, it doesn't, just sitting jack level.
Okay.
But Curnahan won't mind that. 2 bowls sitting there. Paul Matheson now needs another bowl on the head. On the backhand is Matheson on this, the 7th of 15 ends. And that looks like a pretty good line for the lefty. Come back towards the head now. This is breaking in towards the head. Got the weight to get all the line. No, it hasn't. Needed a metre. You'd have heard there from Rod Greeny. Just needed that extra weight.
Can you see it down there? Inside the white one? Inside the white one. Just with a yard. It'll hold up for you.
So Tony Grantham been told by Mike Curnahan, pay down under the line with the yard on, under the head. The bowl will hold up. So here's the Grantham bowl. Look wide out of the hand for that shot. Coming back now, but will it come back enough? No, it won't.
Great effort, mate.
So Paul Matheson needs to just improve by a couple of rolls, and he's got a lot of weight this time. Needs to get the inside, not the outside of the bowl, and just got the outside. You might see Curnahan here. He won't be frightened to, indicating it's one shot to Curnahan and Grantham. But Curnahan will not be frightened to reach that bowl of Paul Matheson's in behind the head, turns it through. They've only got the one bowl sitting in there. And Mike Curnahan just got to play just a fraction over, draw weight, get one turn or 2 turns on that bowl, and he'd be holding 3. So Mike Curnahan asking who's got shot, because that would. So you might have heard Mike Curnahan say favours us, the shot. So So if it does, he'll go back to his backhand, where Tony Grantham played one as well. And Curnahan trying to get down past the bowls. He'll back himself. If he gets past, he can draw another one. Watch this bowler. Curnahan's now come down towards the head and got the jack around the corner. Yeah. And that's made 3 of it. So Rod Greeny now needs to reach the bowls. He's close as the call from his front man. Needs to get the jack out to the side. Did so. But the jack just moved across to the Curnahan combination bowl. And it'll be 1. So 2 good bowls there from the 2 skips.
Unlucky, sir.
Play the cracker first, that Mike.
Thank you.
So Curnahan will no doubt change. Gets through this port here. He's close. Gets through the port. And a touch.
Brilliant, mate. Well done. Bring it down under yours, mate.
So here's Rod Greeny trying to play up on that backhand to get the trail. Needs to be under the front bowl. Not going to do so. 2 it is. And 9-5 now to Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham. And that turnaround over those last 3 ends has really come about from the bowls that Mike Curnahan has played. 9-5 after 7 of the 15 ends. And Curnahan's played some very big conversion shots. So here is Tony Grantham now. Looks on a good track, this bowler. Grantham's, he comes down towards the jack, and the jack clean and does so. I think immediately you'll see Matheson now got another metre of weight on that backhand. The left-hander. It's going to be under the line. So you can tell halfway down on that track of the bowl. Whether or not he had pretty good weight, but just missed that line fractionally. So another good bowl here from Tony Grantham. Another good bowl to the head. And really now it's the Curnahan combination who are putting this early pressure on the Rod Greeny Paul Matheson combination. And the forcing, this can happen now. Start forcing the bowl and you start getting under the line play. So Curnahan holding the shot early on in this head. This will be another one. This Curnahan bowl breaks down towards the shot bowl, sits literally on top of it. I'm sure we'll see a backhand swoop down here from Rod Greeny with weight. Perhaps he needs more weight than that to play that swoop down under the head, because it will disappear under the line. And Paul Matheson, how it sits on top of the bowl, but to get the ultimate result, of course, needed to have another yard of weight. But it's a good bowl on the head though for the Horsell combination, trailing 9-5. Here's Curnahan now.
He just flew into my eye when I let it go. It's gone, mate.
So, Rod Greeny trying to get down to the jack. Going to be under the head. Had the weight to do so, but under the head. Perhaps need to be more direct to get that shunt shot onto the top of the bowl. But there's no doubt the Curnahan combination are controlling the head, as they have the last three heads, in fact, putting the pressure. It was, of course, 6-1 to the combination of Matheson and Greeny, and we've now had that complete turnaround, now 9-5. 5-1, sorry. Now 9-5. Mike Curnahan instructing Tony Grantham to go to the back. In fact, rolled into the ditch, and of course the second division finals out here as well, that being between Kevin Gore and Andy McLean, and the Division 3 final between Hamish Wilson and Adrian Robbins. As we see, this bowl of Matheson's just going to career into his own front bowl. Grantham endeavouring to get another bowl down in that vicinity around the jack, leading 9-5 as we play end 8.
Go sharp if you want to.
And the call from Rod Green to Paul Matheson, go quick at it if you wish to. So we'll see what Matheson does here. Here he is on the mat. Oh, that looked always under the line, out of the hand. I think he meant really quick. That's not what we'd call really quick. So it's imperative here for Rod Greeny and Paul Matheson that they start building some heads. They start drawing a few shots. At the moment, it's the Curnahan and Grantham who are dictating the terms of the head, and Matheson and Greeny are trying to find a way to get the shot. So Mike Curnahan, he'll just endeavour to get another bowl on the head. That's exactly what he's going to do, and it'll be over the head. He'll be happy if it stays up on the green, and will do so. And this is now putting a lot of pressure onto this Ellington skip side, and he'll just get the front bowl here. Fortuitous rolled one of his own bowls, a Paul Matheson bowl into the head, only one down.
Yeah. Whose is that? Whose is that one there? No, to the right of the jack. To the that one. So we got one, have we?
So, a bit of a conversation going on about who's got the shot and what's going on down there. Definitely one to Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham on this, the 8th end of 15. And there is a shot on there to try and play the Curnahan bowl out of the head for a 3-shotter. We'll see where this bowl goes. This bowl goes past the head. No, it won't. Well, I think now he's got to play with real weight. Trying to make contact. You can hear that wind through the microphone now. So if you don't play with weight, your bowl's just not going to really hold up enough. And so here is Rod Greeny, one down on the head, on the back end, trying to reach up through those bowls. And on its way, breaking now towards the head, needs to get a slide and does so. One it is to the Curnahan side, and was always going to be. Shot was on, but fortuitous chance of getting the shot. So we've had since Ian 5, a 3, a 3, a 2 and a 1 to Curnahan and Grantham. So they've dominated the heads, they've dominated the board from Ian 5, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And it just gives them that now 5-shot buffer as we play the 9th of 15 ends in this Burnside Invitation Pairs, the Stew Butter Invitation Pairs, with the major sponsor John Phillips of Harcourt's Grenadier, great sponsor of the sport. As we see this bowl of Grantham's just goes by a metre and a half past the centre line, playing up towards the Avonhead Shopping Centre end. This looks a better green bowl from Paul Matheson. Just it's going to go past the jack. How far is it going to come to the centre line? Literally sit on the 2 metre mark, so plenty of room to draw. And of course, earlier in the semi-final, we saw Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham defeat Craig Carter, and we saw Paul Matheson and Rod Greeny defeat Matt and Mike Small in the other semi-final. So Grantham's drawn, jack level, good second bowl from the Aucklander. So Paul Matheson again has got the bowl out on the good arc. Just how far is this going to run as it comes down towards the jack? Just going past the jack now. Will finish right on the centre line. And good bowl there from Matheson, but still beat one down. And of course, as I said earlier, he'll be on the big Silver Bird tonight out of Christchurch, heading to New Plymouth to start the Taranaki Open Fours tomorrow morning around the greens of Taranaki. 117th run to the championship, the Taranaki Open Championship. Here's Curnahan now, starting to take some control of this game because he's getting control of the head. Holding the shot here, leading 10-5. Just going to go by the Matheson bowl. Playing with weight to try and set the bowl. Rod Greeny here needs to draw the shot. They need to get hold of the jack as the composite side, the Ellington and Horswell player. They get hold of the jack and change his length. So Greeny, he's going to be short and under the line as we play in 9 of 15 here at Burnside. So Mike Curnahan again. Tony Grantham taking an interest in this bowl as it moves back towards the centre line and going to sit inside. What is the second shot? And will do. That's 2. And the difference we're seeing now is we're seeing the Curnahan and Grantham bowls working back to the centre line whereas the Greenie Matheson bowls, so many of them are now under the line. As we see, this was a better bowl here from Rod Greenie, trying to get to the shot bowl, to sit on it, does so, sits on the bowl, and is shot. 10-5. Instructions from Mike Curnahan, draw a toucher to Tony Grantham. I'm sure he'd like to, Michael. So here is Tony Grantham on his backhand, one down on the head, leading 10-5 on the backhand. Doesn't like it. You could tell straight away he knew. And that certainly won't be a toucher, which is what the skipper thought was a good idea. It's about 15 feet short. So Matheson out. Needs to help his skip and get another shot just to endeavour to get some momentum. It's on a pretty good line, this bowler. Matheson doesn't want to get the back of the jack, though. Does so. Not the back of the jack. Of course, there was a bowl, the Curnahan Grantham bowl sitting in the middle of that line of three next to the jack. Just one bowl under green there was Paul Matheson. He can make amends, though, of course. So here's this bowler, Grantham's. It's going to, needs a bit of luck here. Doesn't do so. He was always under the line. You might have heard Rod Greenie then just saying to Paul Matheson, play that same bowl, play that bowl out. Well, the big thing is to Matheson, don't be short. But he's now under the line, steering the bowl under the line. And just for those people watching who, if you might be able to see what's happening, and what happened then, and it's happening on a couple of bowls now, Paul Matheson at the point of delivery let his hand come inwards. The minute you let the hand come inwards, there's the sponsor sitting there with the main man, Alan, who does a wonderful job here at Burnside, and the sponsor, John Phillips. So the minute you move your hand inwards, the bowl, you're going to steer the bowl under the head. And when you play with weight, as he was endeavouring to do then, it certainly becomes exaggerated. And it's a failure. Well, it's an issue with a number of New Zealand players that don't allow the bowl to work and steer the bowl, which normally means you steer it under the line. So here's Rod Greenie. He's on a better line. How far is it coming back? It's coming back now towards the bowl. Going to get the bowl clean. Does so. Moves the jack around the corner. Will lay two shots. Curnahan will play this with weight. He owns the back. He's got two bowls in behind the head.
All right, mate. I'll drive it.
There, I thought I know Jensen looking. I'm pretty sure what Curnahan was going to do then. He'll try that to split that target and get the jack to hit all the way back to the ditch where he's got the backest bowl. On the drive is Curnahan. Looks to be on target. Looks to be right in the middle of the two bowls. And gets the jack, gets everything, and has got the two back bowls. There's a lesson to everybody. And you see how Mike Curnahan didn't try and drive at 1,000 miles an hour, controlled the jack, controlled the delivery. Thus he controlled the line. And those are the shots that win matches. 10-5, 2 down on the head. You know, 4-shot turnaround with a controlled weighted bowl. That shows Curnahan still, without any shadow of doubt, if he was available, one of the great bowlers in New Zealand, and that just highlighted it then. 4 it is. There's the difference of how one shot can make such a big difference. 14-5 after 9 ends now. Mike Curnahan and Tony Grantham leads. Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny. And we've seen the last few ends. We've seen Tony Grantham put some bowls around the head. And in doing so, we have seen Mike Curnahan capitalise completely on that and opened the door up. And this is one of the areas I know which concerns Mike Curnahan, not just here right now, but you're scoring on a particular length, and the delivery of the jack to down towards that 2 metre mark is so imperative. And he was urging the jack on there on that delivery from Tony Grantham, but fell short of really where the Curnahan side wished to play. But this afternoon, I think we're seeing the masterclass of Curnahan as you watch this first bowl of Tony Grantham's go by about a metre. But you Mike Curnahan really showing that he is a master at weight control, and he just played that drive then just perfectly. So Paul Matheson draws to the front of the jack. Of course, that's what haven't been able to do the last few ends. So Tony Grantham now on a pretty good line. This bowl of Tony Grantham just going to go by, but it's over the head and will get back towards the centre line. So it's imperative here that Paul Matheson now Paul Matheson's second bowl on this, his first 2 of 11. You see there 2 great bowls from Paul Matheson. Because they've got to start scoring 14-5. But Curnahan, these last 4 ends, I've seen the masterclass from Mike Curnahan, which we know he's so capable of. So Curnahan, the ever astute player, at this stage, the head, he'll just play the head. He won't be trying to anything too heroic. He's short. So here's Rod Greeny trailing 14-5 as we play in 10. And a draw down towards the, doesn't want to touch the jack. Well, he did touch the jack, moved it down further, and sits in a nice little nest of a triangle there. 3 shots, and it'll be interesting to see. Curnahan, he'll still favour himself on picking on the draw. He'll leave any weight till later on picking. No, he's straight on the drive, on the forehand. That's wide. That's wide. It's going nowhere. I thought he might have waited one more before he drove, but no. So Rodney Greeny holding 3 shots. Can easily make 4 of it here. But this time he's under that very short bowl. He'll be disappointed with that. And that's a long way short. He'll be very disappointed with that, because those are real bonus bowls. Holding 3, trailing 14-5 as a changeover. Tony Grantham will now play his 2, as will Paul Matheson, as the final of Division 2 and Division 3 starts to wind their way down the board in their 13-end finals. So Tony Grantham looking at the head as they go back. See whether Grantham spends 2 with weight. Gives a twirl of the arm. On the drive is Grantham trying to get to the nest of these bowls in the middle. Gets them perfectly, and the jack, look at that, sits right alongside it in the ditch. And that was always on. And sits. There you hear that. Try and draw a second. And that was well controlled weight from Grantham. Got the jack. And the bowl followed and went straight back into the ditch. And Paul Matheson. There you heard Mike Curnahan. It can't be beaten. It's sitting right on top of the bowl. Can't be beaten. Just like the final bowl, just like the bowl that Alex Reid played in the final of the very first televised Bowls 3-5 event, when he played a magnificent drive and sat right alongside it. A memory banger from Alex Reid. Do you remember that, Alex? I know you're watching, so I know you remember it. So, trying to get to second shot is Paul Matheson. Will need to slow down, and not going to. And you heard Curnahan say that the bowl in the ditch is unbeatable. It was a brilliant shot. Certainly just left that gap to drive straight through the port, which Grantham was able to do. Did it perfectly and puts them in a very strong position as we come to the end of Ian 10 of 15 in this final of the Burnside Stew Butter Pairs, sponsored by John Phillips of Harcourt's Grenadier, being the naming rights sponsor of this event. So here's Curnahan endeavouring to draw down towards the back, deep on the green. Will it hold up? No, it won't. It goes into the ditch. And that bowl of Rod Greeny's suffers the same fate. Curnahan will try and make two. Jump to 16-5. Really put the pressure on as we go to end 11. Here's Mike Curnahan now on the forehand, holding the shot in the ditch, indicating that he's quick as well. Looks as though it's going to hold up. Will it hold up all the way? Yes, it will. Gets in that green patch at the bottom, and that's a couple. So here's Rod Greeny. Got through to the last 8 in the Somerset Pairs. This is a good attempt here to try and get second shot. This is a marvellous attempt here from Greeny. One roll away from getting the perfect result. 2. 16-5. 16-5 now with 10 of 15 gone. And it's been a 3, a 3, a 2, a 1, a 4 and a 2. We've now had 6 consecutive ends where the Curnahan-Grantham combination has just raced away to a convincing lead. I'm not saying that they can't be headed, but it would be a real turnaround at this point if the combination of Paul Matheson and Rod Greeny could get on top of the consistency that we've seen from these two, and especially the conversions that we've seen from Mike Curnahan. He's been outstanding, and I'm sure would be in a welcome addition at any time back in a New Zealand side, but that's all gone now. Retired from international play as Grantham trails the jack off the 2 metre mark. And as of the last couple of weeks, where Tony Grantham may have sort of struggled a wee bit at the back end of matches, he certainly hasn't in this final today. He's certainly lit the flame. Of course, pretty good when you're playing with the New Zealand high performance boss. It's just gives you that bit of added confidence, I suppose. He's put on a pretty good exhibition here today.
Well done, Tony.
Two lovely
good.
bowls.
Good, mate.
So Paul Matheson trying to get a bowl on the head for his skip. Rod Greeny going to sit on the Grantham bowl. It does. So Mike Curnahan, I think possibly the Horswell-Ellington combination need to score up this end or the next, otherwise they're very quickly going to run out of available ends to score up a number. And as I said, the Division 2 final has also been played out here in front of us. That is between Kevin Gore of Burnside and Andy McLean of Dunedin.
Good yard, Tony.
And Division 3, Hamish Wilson playing Adrian Robbins. So you saw there, trying to get to the jack was Rodney Greeny. Played with weight, the Ellington player, but was under the head. Holding 2 is Curnahan and leading 16-5. So there's the V for Rod Greeny to play down with a lot of weight through that head to the jack. Is it going to hold long enough? Is it going to hold long enough to get to the jack? Yes, it will, and get your toucher on the jack and make one of it. Still some bowls to come, of course, as the skips change over. And of course, next Sunday, we will be again. Tamara, Melissa, and myself will be live from, I would say, either West End or Paratutu in New Plymouth, where we'll be bringing you the live action of the semi-final and finals of the 117th Taranaki Open Fours, Men's Open Fours, which will get underway tomorrow morning around the greens of Taranaki, with 158 teams lining up. Play 4 days of section play, 8 matches, 2 a day of 25 ends, 6 out of 8 to qualify, and then into post-section play, and of course for those who don't qualify or those who wish to enter later, the pairs competition also gets underway.
I think you're down here too, mate, the draw.
On Friday. They play qualifying rounds on Friday and Saturday morning, and then into post-section play on Saturday afternoon, and the final on Sunday as well. Then, of course, we'll be back in Taranaki in late February.
You're only a metre.
Where we will be covering the final stages of the Somerset men's and ladies fours to be played in Taranaki as well. And then immediately after that, the Somerset mixed pairs will get underway around the greens of Taranaki. And of course, we'll be covering that live action from the final stages of both of those events.
Drawing to the white, you count.
With Tamara, Melissa and a host of others will be. Alex, Colin, they'll all be there. They do such a great job bringing now the bowls coverage of so many events that we're able to live stream to so many people to follow the live action. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, try and get another second.
It's our pleasure to bring that coverage. So I just heard Mike Curnahan say, try and get another second. They can, Curnahan and Grantham can afford. They can afford, of course, to play the scoreboard with this lead. So here's Mike Curnahan now, the skip, unbeaten right throughout this event. Is this composite combination, and to be fair, the look at this from Curnahan. Just sits on the bolt, and the only blemish that the Paul Matheson, Rodney Greeny have had as well, to the best of my knowledge in this event, was that they had a draw in their last game of section play today. So Rod Greeny trying to add to the count. It's going to be under the head. It's going to run into the county, the Curnahan bowl.
2 seconds, mate. You look from down there.
So here's Curnahan now on the search, coming down through under the head. He'll play on that backhand with searching weight, ditch weight, down underneath, try and get to what is the shot bowl. It's going to be tight. Would need a slide, need a bit of luck. Doesn't do so. So we come to the end of the 11th end, and the Ellington-Horswell combination. I'll score. I think it will just be the one. It will be just the one. Takes us to 16-6 as we play in 12 of 15 in this final here at Burnside. Thank you to our marker out there today as well, who's doing a wonderful job.
Long drive back there, spurting after a hole.
Shirley Clark doing a great job.
Oh.
So, of course, the Ellington Club, where Rodney Greeny comes from, Ashburton. You'll see they've shortened the length up. Has Matheson, there goes his first bowl, goes by a couple of metres. Certainly a different weight line now as we play this, the 12th end of 15. And in regards to the other finals, I might be able. Yeah, I'll just.
Weight's good.
I'll have a look through the binoculars.
Well pointed, mate. Very good, Zimmy.
And it is Kevin Gore up against Andy McLean in the Division 2. And it is Gore that is leading 13-4. And then the other final, it is 9-8, 9-8 in the Division 3 final. That's Hamish Wilson over Adrian Robbins. 9-8 to Hamish Wilson. But we concentrate on this final out in front of us. That between Paul Matheson and Rodney Greeny. Matheson of Horswell and Rodney Greeny of Ellington. up against Mike Curnahan of North East Valley in Dunedin and Tony Grantham of Carlton, Cornwall and Auckland. And it's the Curnahan-Grantham combination as we play the 12th end that are leading by 16 shots to 6. With Tony Grantham holding the shot.
I ain't driving, mate. But you might be.
So, Curnahan making his way back to the mat. So here is Curnahan. Been outstanding in this game, has Curnahan. Played some magnificent conversion shots. And looks as though he's going to draw another shot here. And Rod Greeny, the call from Paul Matheson to draw as close as you can. 2 down. 2 down and trailing 16 shots to 6 on this, the 12th end. It's on a good line, this bowl. How far is it going to run? Just goes by a metre. Curnahan again now on the forehand. Trying to add to the count, certainly piling the pressure on the Matheson Greeny side. Just going to go by the head.
Perfect. Let's just see what happens.
To a couple of hard-working Burnside men there. Of course, they've had a hard couple of, well, not hard, but they've had a busy couple of weeks here. We've been headquarters for the Somerset Nationals, of course, and now straight away a week later into the Burnside Invitation Pairs. As you see, Paul Matheson now endeavouring to draw, and he's going to go by.
Yeah, draw to those 3, mate.
Just haven't been able to build heads as the Matheson Greeny combination, and Curnahan and Grantham have been too consistent on the draw and the conversion shots. Well, if we go back to that semi-final this morning when Mike Curnahan got a touch on the jack
On the draw, mate.
to take a very close scoreboard, touched the jack, moved it about 6 inches and picked up a 6 in his semi-final, and that really made the difference the whole final. So here again,
mate.
Matheson
No more.
now going by. They've got a collection of 4 bowls in behind their head there, but of course need to get the jack to get to those 4 bowls. Mike Curnahan saying to Tony Grantham, give us a yard of weight to try and cover
Hurry, mate.
those 4 bowls. Curnahan saying hurry along. He's going to do just that. He'll be happy with that. Gets in amongst those bowls. And it'll count.
Oh, I've got a clip there.
So trying to play down through the bowls as Rodney Greeny to try and get to the jack. Our marker, Shirley Clark, standing there doing a wonderful job throughout this final. As have, of course, all the workers around the Burnside Club. Do a wonderful job here, as they did throughout the Nationals. Trying to get to the jack is Rod Greeny on the backhand. Trying to play under the head to get to the jack to move it back to some counting bowls. Some bowls in the catching pen. Looks as though he's just going to be a bowl wide. It's going to be. Gets the outs. Just ran into one of the Curnahan bowls. But he has to play that. That's literally all he's got so far as a chance to pick a number up. He could equally drop a number here. Mike Curnahan will try and get in behind the head on that centre line. And good luck to bowls Taranaki. is to the fours, 117th Taranaki Open fours get underway tomorrow morning around the greens of Taranaki. Section play gets underway tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, 25 ends. And don't forget to stop halfway through for those delightful morning tea and afternoon teas that the ladies of Taranaki always turn on. And we'll be live with you from Taranaki next Sunday. We'll be bringing you semi-final and finals of the 117th Taranaki Open fours. Again, just going on the outside was Rod Greeny. And
You got 5?
there's a big number there. This could be shake hands time. Here's Curnahan on the mat.
Thanks, mate.
There it is. It's all over. Just heard the concession from Rod Greeny and Mike Curnahan. And Tony Grantham run out the winners by 21 shots to 6 over Paul Matheson and Rod Greeny in this final of the Burnside pairs here. The Stu Butter invitation pairs with the great sponsorship of John Phillips from Harcourt's Granada. My thanks, of course, to Tamara and Melissa, who have sat alongside me and brought all this wonderful coverage to you throughout the day. Also, still in progress, though, is the Division 2 semi-final, which sees Kevin Gore leading Andy McLean. The Division 3 final is still underway. Hamish Wilson playing Adrian Robbins, and Hamish Wilson just a couple ahead in that. So congratulations to Tony Grantham and Mike Curnahan on their victory in the Burnside pairs, and we'll be back with you next Sunday from Taranaki. We'll bring you the semi-final and final of the Taranaki Open fours from New Plymouth. So this is Kevin Hicklin, Tamara and Melissa leaving you, and we trust you enjoyed our coverage.